Today's webinar is brought to you by StrataCom. A lot of you probably know us from the Sharewell world over the last 10 years. StrataCom was founded in 1997, and IT service management has really always been the core of what we do. We've partnered with a lot of the big, well-known vendors over the years, and our most recent partnership is with Atlassian. With the discontinuation of the Sharewell product line we had focused on for the last 10 years, we found ourselves shopping for a new vendor, much a lot of our customers are shopping for an IT service management solution. And when we went out in the market, saw what was there, we were most impressed with the Jira Service Management offering. So to date, we are an Atlassian Platinum partner specialized in IT service management. One of the things that sets us apart in the Atlassian world is our large consulting team who've been with us. Many have been with us for 15, 20 plus years. They're leveraging decades of IT service management experience. We're primarily located in the United States, offices coast to coast. StrataCom has always had a big focus on professional services, everywhere from implementation to ongoing build out, managed services, customization, you name it, we do it services wise. Why our clients choose StrataCom? Really proven methodology. Over 3 decades of implementation experience. We know what we're doing. We know how to do it well. Business process, reliability. So to dive in a little bit to Atlassian, a lot of people maybe have heard of the Jira product line. It's been around forever and very widely adopted in the DevOps space. Service management is a newer thing for them, but they are growing really quick. This is the latest Forrester Wave report. And you can see up in the top of the quadrant our ServiceNow, who we all know, BMC, who acquired Remedy. They've been around for a very long time. And Atlassian has really jumped up to the top of the pack after putting a lot of research and development into their solution over the last couple of years. And we're managed to achieve the strongest strategy ranking possible by Forrester this year. So a little bit more about JSM, and then we'll dig into hopefully the roadmap that everyone came to see. Why we were impressed with Jira Service Management is really fast time to value. We're finding implementation times very reasonable, very quick. It has an intuitive user interface. That's a big pain point for a lot of our customers is the user interface. A lot of folks are using solutions that were built decades ago. They're old, they're clunky. Users complain they don't like to use it. We really like the new, fresh look and feel of JSM. We also find that deployment administration is very straightforward. It's that low code, no code platform. We like that JSM is built on the Jira platform. As I mentioned, a lot of customers are familiar with Jira in the DevOps space. A lot of customers are using Jira, and to leverage everything on the same platform really provides a lot of benefits. You also get the ability to use the Confluence for knowledge within JSM. If you haven't heard of Confluence, it's a really great knowledge management tool that's available standalone or for free if you buy JSM. JSM also has a really low cost and predictable TCO. You probably noticed in that report I just showed you, it's ranked way up there as a leader with ServiceNow. But if you've ever seen pricing for ServiceNow, they tend to nickel and dime you for everything. And with JSM, a lot of that is included. You get Ops Genie for free, which is a good competitor to PagerDuty. You get templates for things like HR, facilities. You can really accomplish that enterprise service management without having to buy separate tools for each of those items. And with licensing, you only really need to license those help desk technicians that are working that whole life cycle of a ticket. You don't need to license end users entering a portal, request checking their tickets on a portal. Approvers as well don't need licenses. So it makes it very cost effective. So with that, I'm so glad we've got Ken here to talk with you today. Ken is the head of technical product marketing for Atlassian. He's a fantastic resource to visit with you today. A lot of experience in the industry and the perfect resource at Atlassian to visit with you directly. We could give the partner perspective all day, but it's great to hear it directly from the software vendor, what they're doing with their product, a brief overview of where they've been and where they're going. So Ken, if you're ready, it's all yours.
Quick bio for me. I've been in the industry about 25 years now. I've mostly on the implementation side of the house. So I've implemented all of the major products in this space prior to my time coming to Atlassian, and I'm very familiar with the rest of them that typically appear in the quadrants and waves. But enough about that. Today, we're going to take a quick look back at the history of Jira Service Management in terms of our strategy and vision and how we got to where we are today. And then we're going to take a look at our roadmap in terms of the features that were recently released, as well as what's coming soon. This first slide here is meant to illustrate that what you're going to see today should be considered general product direction. And it's for informational purposes only. The reason why we have this slide is because we do quarterly reviews of our roadmap and look at feedback from the field, from our customers, from our partners, and lots of different sources to make sure that the things that we're working on are the right thing or the things that our customers want at this point in time. So as a result of that exercise, we do move things around in terms of priorities and budget to shift to respond to those changes. So that's why we have this slide here to let you know that if you see something today and it disappears tomorrow, you know why. All right, so let's talk about Jira Service Management. And first thing we're going to talk about is why. So we believe that we're the only vendor out there that can bring development, I&O, and business teams together on the same service delivery platform to deliver exceptional service experiences at high velocity. Now, why do our customers choose Atlassian? Three things, really. First, we deliver value without the cost and complexity of traditional ITSM solutions. It's a lot easier to set up, use, and maintain. And second, unlike traditional ITSM, it brings dev and ops teams together so they can respond to changes and incidents faster and keep their critical services up and running at all times. It also gives developers the autonomy to run fast and do their very best work while ensuring work is aligned with IT operations. And third, it makes it super simple for IT to empower every business team, whether it's HR, facilities, finance, or anybody really, with the ability to deliver that same great support to every other employee without a huge reliance on IT. Now let's dive in and talk a little bit about our vision of where service management is headed. Firstly, it's recognizing that service delivery teams need to have a whole lot more customer centricity. Even inside the company, there's an expectation that you're delivering great experiences and that it matters. You need to think through the entire service delivery cycle from concept to launch to operations. You need to be a product owner. You can't focus purely on operations and leave the rest. So our vision is to create one platform that connects dev to IT to business teams so you can have workflow seamlessly from ideas to concept to development to release, operations, and support. You get tight customer feedback and learning loops. It's exactly like a product lifecycle. The underlying data and concepts are inherently connected. Unifying on a single platform, we can seamlessly tie together customer ideas, insights to the design, the code, the pull request through to operational tasks, and services to get full visibility across that whole lifecycle. But in any organization, it's no longer just about a single lifecycle in software. There are now many teams, quite possibly distributed, working remotely, who need to come together to deliver streams of value. And it's happening in departments and teams that are both inside and outside tech. For them to run at high velocity, they need a level of autonomy and empowerment that they haven't had before. Even when we talk to CIOs, they're increasingly realizing that even from tops down, there is a narrative of empowerment. The old ways of having a central command and control approach just don't work anymore. In our vision, service management platforms must have the flexibility and simplicity to allow teams to run fast and operate autonomously, so they can respond to changing needs with agility. We are still delivering on the promise of shared services. It just happens faster because central I&O gives teams the flexibility, the tools, and the autonomy to run fast. But autonomy taken to the extreme will end up with a massive problem of sprawl. Independently, it's easy for each team to have autonomy, but it becomes a headache when you want to know how you are going against things like GDPR, or where you have PII when hundreds of shadow systems come out of the woodwork. That's why you have to balance that autonomy with the capabilities that help coordinate information and work. Operating off the same service management platform can help with that. Our platform provides the level of safeguards and coordination that allow these teams to come back together in a compatible way through providing a unified roll-up view of services so the different teams are still coordinated on the values and outcomes of their initiatives, improvements in overall operational health, ability to identify bottlenecks and opportunities for improvement, and core compliance, governance, and control through common terminology, experiences, and administrative controls. Underlying all this, we've seen that work has increasingly become what we call messy. All the work that needs to happen to address a request, roll out a change, respond to incidents, no longer happens within the confines of a queue or a ticket. While the routines are increasingly automated away through bots and AI, the real value and importance for teamwork happens in what we call the messy middle. We believe service management tools of the future must support self-organizing, cross-functional teams that swarm together to resolve requests and problems. Our vision is to help these teams seamlessly transition between their structured workflow, which is now often automated, through throughput-centric work to the unstructured, high-touch collaborative work that's needed to deliver, operate, and support digital services such as products. This is high-stakes work that demands the highest degrees of cross-team collaboration, tracking of dependencies, creating shared context, and ensuring traceability. Our solution combines best-in-class workflow with our collaboration platform to achieve this. Around all this, of course, is the undeniable disruption that what we'll see from generative AI and things like large language models on how enterprises operate and support services. Given the often repeatable nature of service management work, we believe that AI will have a more immediate and outsized impact in this space. We see a world where consumer experiences powered by AI will be the norm for the vast majority of interactions. Employees will get help fast, regardless of where their knowledge is in the backend. AI will help operations dramatically scale, make better decisions, predict adverse outcomes, and proactively address incidents and changes faster. So our summary vision for service management is that we believe product-centric thinking and service delivery will gain traction, and so an end-to-end approach to service delivery is necessary. We believe that team autonomy with alignment is paramount for agility. We believe that high-value work will be increasingly collaborative and unstructured. ESM solutions must help build better connections to navigate between structured and collaborative work. And finally, generative AI and large language models will disrupt how enterprises operate and support services. We're incorporating Atlassian intelligence into experiences across our platform. These philosophies guide our roadmap and the way we build for the future. But of course, at the end of the day, service management does not work in isolation. Let's take a look at how this fits in the adjacencies to this space on the Atlassian platform. So here in the middle, of course, we have our core offering, which is Jira Service Management. It's all the capabilities you'd expect from a service management solution, from portals to virtual agents, as well as pre-built modules outside of core IT like HR, customer service management, and all at no extra cost. On the left, we have our ADO capabilities, like Jira Product Discovery and Jira Software. On the right, our broader collaboration products. Together, we think the Atlassian platform provides a true end-to-end coverage for any organization, from ideating to dev to build to operate and support, all the way to the collaboration throughout. On top, of course, are the portfolio-level products like Jira Align and Atlas. That's going to help with central alignment that I talked about earlier. And underlying all of this, of course, is the Atlassian platform that powers the full family of all of our cloud products, including our recent significant investments in Atlassian Intelligence. So let's talk about some of that innovation. Firstly, of course, is we have an outsized investment in R&D. We have a unique consumer scale go-to-market model, which allows us to invest on average over 35% of our revenue in R&D across all of our product lines. This is well ahead of other cloud providers and our competition, as you can see here. And when it comes to ESM, we're making outsized investments with roughly 49% of our revenue going into R&D. We have 3,500 plus people in our R&D department, with more being added all the time. We have 55 patents issued in the last 3 years. We mix internal innovation with aggressive M&A, which we will talk about more in a minute. We use customer and partner advisory councils with over 400 plus community leaders and research teams to make sure our areas of innovation align with real customer needs. So we're innovating across many areas of our portfolio. In particular, we're focusing on 3 major areas of our product. So firstly is our deep linkage between DevOps and support. This includes external customer support, not just internal. We're seeing huge demand for that connectivity all the way from concept, build, operations to external customer engagement, support, and feedback. Secondly is AI in service management. We're investing in multiple areas, especially in assisting enterprises to create a new AI-driven front door to aid resolution with knowledge. It's about helping teams collaborate in a new way and recognizing that knowledge can be derived from many different sources. Could be Google Docs, could be Microsoft Teams conversations, could be anywhere. AI can unlock this knowledge to take collaboration to the next level. And lastly, expanding on asset and configuration management with significant flexibility. We're seeing lots of business teams beyond IT wanting to model their processes and workflows. And the flexibility of our asset and configuration database allows them to do that. We're expanding this further as well with additional inorganic investments. And we've been moving fast on this front. By knowing we had to combine internal innovation with M&A to move fast, we started with investing in capabilities that bring dev and ops teams even closer together, like best-in-class incident management, integrated asset and configuration management, and smart automation. We also invested in breaking down silos between IT and business teams, empowering every team to deliver service value faster across HR, facilities, finance, and beyond. For instance, we invested in a no-code, low-code form builder with over 300 plus templates, conversational ticketing, virtual agent capabilities, richer analytics, and improvements in import and analysis on the breadth, depth, quality, and currency of data across a number of separate sources. Now, on to how we go about support. So once our customers decide to use the product, how do we support them and make them successful? So we have over 1,300 plus people dedicated to customer support and advocacy. 5 key things that I'll cover here. 1 is our general support, which is included in the license fees. There are no additional fees, and that is fairly unique in the market. We have prepackaged services. So we offer a whole host of prepackaged paid and free services with examples that include things like our delivery assurance program that provides advisory level oversight to enterprise clients. It's delivered by Atlassian or our partners leveraging the Atlassian implementation methodology and detailed ESM blueprints. Third is our people. We've invested in various support resources, both free and paid. Free resources include our product advocates who help product evaluators by answering technical questions. Our solution architects team, they leverage their blueprint methodology inspired by ITIL 4 to guide enterprise customers. Our customer success managers, which help customers optimize their usage of the products. We have loyalty advocates that assist customers with their renewals and expansions. We have customer advocates that work with customers on their billing or licensing issues. And on the paid services front, we have technical account managers. These are experienced solution advisors that are dedicated to an enterprise account. They help customers with enterprise-scale deployments, engaged in weekly check-ins to provide best practices, roadmap updates, and serve as a point person for product escalation and feature requests. The next is our online resources. An example of these include an expansive online support documentation that includes ITSM and ESM best practices. We have team playbooks that help address common team challenges by ITSM and ESM practice. And we have in-product guided tours that help administrators set up their implementation, leveraging ITSM and ESM best practices. And finally, various learning forums and opportunities for peer support, including our Atlassian University that offers ITSM practices training. It has both free and paid content available online and in product. Our Atlassian events that include group training and certification opportunities and forums for customers to speak with each other and get peer support. And our Atlassian community, which is something that we're particularly proud of, and we'll talk more about in just a minute. We also consistently track our NPS scores, and we average 80 plus across a massive number of customers, which is considered excellent in the industry. We have 3 core groups of partners, as I mentioned prior. One is our Atlassian marketplace. The second are our solution partners, resellers, and global SIs, as well as our product and innovation partners. We've talked about our product partners a bit, so let's focus on the other 2. Let's talk about the Atlassian marketplace. This is where our partners publish applications that range from functionality enhancements to full-fledged solutions built on top of our platform. We have a thriving marketplace that there are over 5,000 plus applications in, with 1,000 plus applications that support Jira Service Management. We have 300 plus people dedicated to cultivating our ecosystem. We have Forge, which is our development platform, along with the marketplace that takes care of many complex needs for partners such as security, cloud hosting, billing, and provisioning. There's also a vibrant developer community where vendors and our product teams come together. We run public hackathons for our partners to encourage innovation. And with Atlassian Ventures, we invest directly in businesses in our marketplace, and we've invested in over 50 companies. Atlassian is also featured in other vendors' application marketplaces, such as Slack, Salesforce, AWS, Microsoft, and more. Moving to the right column, solution partners, resellers, and GSIs. We have 1,000 plus solution partners across geographies and industries to help implement Jira Service Management and serves as a force multiplier. They offer a range of services, including consulting, implementation, migration, custom add-ons, and solution development. Next up, let's talk about pricing. There are 6 things I wanted to touch on with regards to how we price and package our solution. So first is that our goal is to build incredibly affordable software that can be trialed first. We only charge for fulfillers. There are no other license types. For instance, we don't charge for requesters. Our pricing is fully transparent and shown on our website, with no hidden fees or contracts. That has been something that our founders have insisted upon since the company's inception. We offer multiple editions of the product with monthly or annual subscription options. We also have a data center option for those not quite ready for the cloud. We have a free edition to get our startup teams up and running. In addition to free, we offer standard, premium, and enterprise plans. To provide flexibility for large growing organization, enterprise plans offer a centralized per-user licensing model that allows users to access all enterprise instances with a single license. It also includes Atlassian access out of the box, which is what you might use for things like a single sign-on and integrations to your user directories. There are discounts for yearly subscriptions and volume discounting for 16 plus agents, as well as significant discounts for not-for-profit organizations, NGOs, and academics. All core functionality is available out of the box and does not require additional module purchases, allowing for quick adoption and expansion of Jira Service Management across organizations. All new functionality, all the emerging innovative features we release are rolled out through an early access program and are part of the customer's license at no additional cost. Something else to call out, which is a differentiator in the market, is that support is included in our incredibly competitive pricing at no additional cost. It bears repeating that business users are free. And what this means is that customers who come to things like your help center or portal to submit requests or search for knowledge, in other competitor products, you might get charged for those accounts. And here at Atlassian, we do not charge for those accounts. They are free to you. And to give you a sense of cost, we've done a couple of scenarios here with companies of varying sizes, from 250 employees to 5,000 to 50,000 to 100,000. And we have assumed varying degrees of maturity and hence functional needs. And that's represented by the additions column. A couple of callouts here is these prices represent all-in functionality. We only charge for agents, not for end users or requesters. Next thing you'll notice is that there are sliding scale discounts. If you look at rows 2 and 3, you'll see how the price per agent, drops dramatically as the agent count goes up. And finally, it's all on the website. Now we have a pricing calculator right there. It's completely transparent, so you can sign up and get going with a credit card today if you want. So to go out there and take a look. The next thing I'll touch on is that we recently did a study with Forrester and looked at the total economic impact of Atlassian with our Jira Service Management solution at our customer sites. And what they came back with after discussing the benefits with customers is that our customers were receiving on average a 277% return on their investment. They were getting a 4.19 million in total benefits, with 2 million of that cost savings coming from retiring their previous solution, and an average implementation time of 4 months. This is over a 3-year period. And so this is, as you might expect, quite attractive to customers when they are switching from one solution to another. All right, let's talk about community. As I mentioned earlier, we're quite proud of our community. It's something that everyone, quite frankly, gets a tremendous amount of value out of, not just our customers, but we do as well. They are a tremendous resource for understanding what's happening in the customer base and what customers are interested in, and that valuable feedback that allows us to continue to build more and more important features and products. So with some quick stats here, we've got an online community that has about 18 million visitors annually. All of our free tier and end user questions are routed to the community. 90% of the questions in the community are answered by non-Atlassians, with each of those answers viewed by thousands of other customers. We found community engagement increases product adoption by 2 to 3 times and usage by 6 times. We have over 400 community leaders who are volunteer brand advocates on our behalf. They host community events in their local areas. They give presentations on our behalf. They answer questions. They write long-form articles on the community. And they do it because they love Atlassian. And we love them right back. So we host virtual and in-person events with a focus on ITSM and ESM. which include group training and certification opportunities and forums for customers to speak at with each other to get peer support. And in the past 12 months, we have hosted over 1,000 events, reaching over 45,000 people. We also run Ask Me Anything sessions with Atlassian and industry leaders to help community members improve their ESM and ITSM practices and connect with product managers, designers, and engineers if they have questions. And this is just a look at some of those customers that make up our vibrant community. And if you're on this list, we thank you. And for the rest that aren't, we hope to have you on here one day. And finally, well, let's take a look at our market presence since we launched Jira Service Management just 3 years ago. We knew we had to stand out in a highly saturated market. So ever since we've launched, we've been rolling out what we call cut through the noise, edgy, bold, and brand campaigns. In addition to driving awareness through those campaigns, we've continued to drum up press with some pretty memorable headlines around our recent investments in AI and how our customers are transforming their employee experiences. And with our investments in making our website a learning destination for this space, we are now the top ranked vendor for service management keywords with the highest share of voice. And we hold the top spot on Google for the most competitive keywords. These numbers do change all the time. You'll note that this is for the month of December 2023. So depending on when you're watching this, these numbers do move around a little bit, as you notice in the graphs on the left there. So do note the date as to when these numbers were accurate. The next thing that we're particularly proud of is that we were named a leader in the Gartner ITSM Magic Quadrant, as well as the Forrester ESM Wave, where it was noted that we had the strongest strategy of all the vendors evaluated. And most recently, Gartner named us a leader in their DevOps Magic Quadrant, specifically calling out Atlassian as a good fit for organizations looking for a DevOps platform with service management and incident response automation capabilities. All right, so that's a quick look at the sort of history of JSM in a nutshell, as well as the vision and the strategy that we're using to continue to drive the solution moving forward. And so now we're going to take a quick look at the roadmap. Now, as I mentioned before, these are the 3 areas that we tend to align our solutions towards and what our strategies center around. And one of the things that I mentioned just a little while ago is that we have our campaigns that we like to run to build awareness. And one thing you'll learn about Atlassian is we like to have a little fun here at Atlassian. So this is our most recent campaign, what we're calling End Bad Service Management Now. That in addition to making people chuckle, gives us a chance to compartmentalize the improvements that we're making. If you take a look at these very terrible symptoms here, bloated budgets and irritable teammates and whatnot, they all sound bad, right? Our goal is to turn all of these terrible symptoms into all of these wonderful outcomes and feelings. With this context, we want to stop bad service management in its tracks and continue to improve Jira Service Management to do just that. Let's take a look at the roadmap. We're going to skip over the healthy budgets part because we've already talked about what our pricing strategy is, and that's really where we attack healthy budgets. So we're going to talk happy teammates. So on the left side of the screen are things that we've recently shipped in these areas of incident management, change management, and asset management. So what we're going to talk a little bit about more is what's coming next. And that's for our incident management. We want to continue to improve and make it more efficient. So a couple of things that we're doing there are that we are adding automated templates to the mix so that based on things like alert patterns and various alert signals, there'll be automation in place to pre-fill an incident before an agent has a chance to touch on it. Makes it a little quicker to get going with an incident. The next thing on the list there is the consolidation work. So if you're familiar, as I mentioned on a prior slide, a few years back, we did an acquisition of OpsGenie, which has market-leading alerting capabilities within it. What we have been doing ever since then is blending those capabilities into Jira Service Management. So what we are continuing to improve upon is that user experience. We want to make that user experience of using those features as seamless and as easy as possible. So there's been a tremendous amount of work both in the past and in the near future here to make that reality. On the asset management side, we continue to want to scale the solution to accommodate larger and larger implementations. We'll talk more about this in a minute. We have an API available in our Forge platform, as I mentioned earlier. So we want to make sure that when you are leveraging that asset's capability, that you can do that through the API if you so choose. And as I mentioned prior, we have our AirTrack acquisition that we just made recently. This is going to help significantly in the areas of connecting to data sources and very quickly normalizing and reconciling those data sources together so that you have a nice clean set of records coming into your asset repository. So there'll be, of course, the efforts here in the near term to integrate that functionality to the core platform as quickly as possible. And then on the change management front, and this isn't really unique to change management, it's just where it appears the most. You of course use approvals in any workflow, but we want to leverage those asset investments by allowing customers to do asset-driven approvals for certain processes where you want to leverage what you already have in your asset system. And if we take a moment and kind of talk about assets and what our philosophy is around how we look at asset management, is we look at it very broadly. And we look at improving it in three different ways. One is we call construct, and that's that we want to be able to support the scaling needs of an organization over time as they add more and more things into their asset repository. So we want to make sure that it is performant and that it is compliant with whatever our customers need. So we continue to invest in that area. The second thing is in configuration. One of the things we pride ourselves on here at Atlassian is making our products as self-serve as they can be. So in order to do that, they got to be easy to configure. They got to be able to go in there and set it up with minimal to no supervision or training. We work very hard on that. So we endeavor to make the asset system in particular as easy to configure as possible. And then on the third line, there is consumption. So we want to extend how can users use this asset data? How can you get this data to where it's needed at the time that it's needed? Not just in Jira Service Management, but across the platform as a whole. So we want to make sure that that's as easy to use as possible and that it's as easy to configure that functionality as possible. All right, moving forward to heightened visibility. We have our Atlassian Analytics solution. This is for more complex advanced reporting needs. This has been recently made GA out in the market, so you may be playing with it already, and we hope you're enjoying it. But underneath that visualization layer is something that we call the data lake. And that's where all of the data from your entire site is stored that feeds analytics. Of course, one of the asks that quickly came out was, can I export that data? Because I've already got some visualization tool that I enjoy, whether it's Tableau or whatever. So can I export that data out? So that's something that we are working to fulfill here in the near future. The second thing that we're doing is that we know that not everybody needs or can leverage Atlassian Analytics, and they want to just improve their reporting inside of the core set of Jira Service Management product. So we've certainly heard that loud and clear, and we want to execute on that as well. So it's actually launching right now. So depending on when you're watching this, it may already be in your hands, but we'll be improving the out-of-the-box reporting that exists within Jira Service Management and within Confluence. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we want to make it easier to surface this asset information wherever you need it. And that isn't always in Jira Service Management. Sometimes it's in companion products like Confluence. So we have rolled out some abilities to do that here recently. And then the third thing on the list here is hierarchical goals. So a lot of times what we noticed was customers were building goals one by one across their request types and across their service desks. And that can lead to lots of duplication. And what that ends up causing is two problems. One is your performance starts to suffer if you have too many in there, and then you start to hit some of the upper limits of what the SLA system can handle. So we wanted to address that by introducing hierarchical goals, where you can essentially, in a nutshell, build the rule one time versus having to build it multiple times, and it will account for more possibilities within a particular SLA. And this will address both of those concerns I mentioned prior. The next thing that we're excited about, because if you've been around a while in our Atlassian ecosystem, this has been asked for a very long time, and that's these Kanban style boards. So we have recently rolled this out. So you can now have boards in Jira Service Management if you prefer to visualize your work this way and work on them in this particular fashion. So we will continue to improve the capabilities of boards, but the first one is out. So definitely go check it out if you're a fan of boards. And then faster setup. As I mentioned earlier, we are all about self-serve here. So we want to make it as easy as possible to get up and running on Jira Service Management as quickly as possible. And that means things have to be simple and easy and intuitive. So we're doing lots of work on this front. The first one on the list here is with our forms. As I mentioned earlier, if you're not familiar with forms, they're a way of embedding a form into an overall request to gather certain information that helps fulfill that request, but it isn't necessarily something that you want to create a backend field for, so to speak. So it's allows you to be robust without adding weight to the system. So our forms right now are 2 different configuration experiences in the tool, and we want to make that one. So we're doing lots of work to simplify the process of creating that form within a request type. And as a reminder, forms were an acquisition. So that's why we're trying to integrate the solution as quickly as possible. On the configuration front, we are just launching something called AI-assisted request types, so that when you're building your request type and you're trying to figure out, we have lots of templates in the system, which one should I use? Or is there one there that can help me get going quicker? We have an AI-assisted search, basically that allow you to search for a particular type of work, and it will give you some suggestions on request types that you can use. And then the next one there is improving workflow configuration. So we want to make it as easy as possible to not just build workflows, but share workflows across request types and projects overall. So we continue to do lots of work there. On the onboarding side, we continue to add to our template library, both at a project or service desk level, at a request level, and at an asset level. We have rolled out templates for all of these in the past, and we want to continue to add to those templates, again, to have as many use cases available for customers as possible. You're also going to see more in-product guidance and support. So as people are configuring and getting up and running, we know that there comes times where they can't figure out how to do something. And we want to basically get them the help they need in that moment. So we're spending a lot of time working on that particular ask from our customers. And then the next one is asset migration from on-prem. So for our customers who are using our on-prem solutions today, they of course want to migrate to cloud over time. And as I mentioned, they may have multiple different products. They may have multiple different features within those products that were from our acquisitions over the past. And we want to make it as easy as possible to get from our on-prem solutions to our cloud solutions. So one of those areas, of course, is the assets acquisition. So we are making that migration easier. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a particular focus on customer service. It is in our top 3 use cases for Jira Service Management. So we're putting a lot of energy and effort, both in the past and moving forward, in trying to make the customer service management experience, so that type of process, that type of service desk, we want to make that as robust as possible to support those use cases. So we have customer context fields that we rolled out recently, that we also recently added to the issue view to make it easier to see that customer context kind of one click away, so to speak. And in some cases, it's not even a click away if you have it expanded already. So it's making it as easy as possible to get to that customer information. And then we will continue to invest in this area of the solution over time. And on the delightful experiences front, we have our help center. So this is our primary web-based portal that has a certain level of configuration in it today. We, of course, know that customers want it to be even more configurable. So we are doing a lot of work to address that and try to make it as configurable as it can be, so you can truly build the web portal or experience that you want to build for your customers. So a lot of work happening there. On the knowledge front, we have embedded ways of getting third-party data into the knowledge base today, which is powered by Confluence. And we want to continue to extend that because we know that knowledge is everywhere. We want to make it as easy as possible to get those external sources into the system as easy as possible. And then I mentioned Atlassian Intelligence a couple of times throughout this presentation. If you're not familiar with it, it is launching now. Depending on when you watch this, you may haven't already, but this is a list of the things that are being released in Atlassian Intelligence, and I'm going to go through them all in a little bit more detail in just a second. Our virtual agent just recently launched. This is what we're going to take a look at in just a second in a little bit more detail, but we're proud of the fact that we use it in-house. We are also proud that We've built a lot of the technology underneath it, and we've also added to that technology with acquisitions as well as with our OpenAI partnership. So we'll take a look at a couple of examples. This is an example of kind of what I'll call an IT style request, where someone's asking them how they can connect to the network. And then basically the agent's going to search across those knowledge bases to look for the answer, and then it's going to summarize that answer for the user here in Slack. And then another example we'll take a look at is an HR example. And this is someone asking how can they take unpaid leave? And then it's going to know where to look for that answer and then find the answer and then summarize it there for the user, as well as giving links to where the source information is if they want to read more. And in the next example, this one's a little bit more of a dynamic kind of back and forth example where there's not going to be a straight answer necessarily to this question. So they want to get access to a bike locker. The virtual agent needs more information. So they need to know what office are they based out of, and then which particular bike lockup do they want to access. And then with that information, it can then give them the answer that they're looking for, as well as a link if they need further instructions. And then taking a look behind the scenes, this is what it looks like when it's built. And as I mentioned earlier, we are all about self-serve. One of the things we're excited about with our virtual agent is this no-code, low-code builder for the intents and the flows within the virtual agent. So you don't have to hire armies of people to build and train the thing. You can go in there and start immediately building things yourself and using it on day one. As I mentioned, we do use this in-house. These stats are actually a little old at this point, so the numbers are higher. But we use a virtual agent for our internal support. I use it fairly regularly. And we've already measured over 1,000 hours saved and a greater than 50% virtual agent assistance hit rate. Now, taking a closer look at, as I mentioned, we have our Atlassian intelligent experiences here. We're looking at our summarize feature here. And what this is basically doing is if you've come into a record and you don't really feel like reading all of the comments, what happened in the past, and you just say, hey, I need someone to summarize this for me. You click the button that says summarize, and then it will do exactly that for you. This is our first example of our Atlassian intelligence features in use. And then another example that we'll take a look at here is, in this case, this person has spilt coffee on their laptop and they need a new one. So I'm now up to speed on what's happened with the request, and I want to write something, but I'm not feeling like a particularly good author today. So I want to make sure that I'm writing a good response to the customer. So I want to make sure I have an empathetic tone to what I'm trying to say. So it's going to look at what I wrote and then rewrite it with more empathy. And what's nice about this is you don't have to just take what it wrote. You can say, okay, that's pretty good, but I also want to make a change. So I'll say, all right, that looks good, but I'm going to change this line here to something that sounds a little more me. And then I'll send it off to the customer. So it's helped me do what I wanted to do while giving me the flexibility of making changes where I think it needs to. And then switching over to, this is inside Confluence. So within a knowledge base, we have a transcription of a recent meeting. And we're saying, I don't feel like reading all this. Can somebody like Atlassian Intelligence come in here and just summarize it for me? So summarize the actions and decisions on this page for me so that I know what happened in this particular meeting that I missed. So it's going to look through the transcription and do exactly that. And there you have it. And now we're going to go look at another knowledge base article that somebody's writing. In this case, they want to do a mobile app announcement and they need to figure out some tweets. I need help. Can you give me a couple of options? They want a formal option or a casual option. And I want you to base it on the spec for this particular announcement. So it's telling Atlassian Intelligence, go look at this page where the spec is. And then based on that page, summarize a couple of different styles of tweets and a couple of options that I could potentially use to send out this announcement. So there you have it. And this is just a few examples. As you might imagine from seeing the drop-down menu, you can do a bunch of different things with this tool to help make your day a bit more efficient. Now, I don't know about where you all work who are watching this, but here at Atlassian, we do like code names and we do like acronyms. And that can get a little overwhelming for people just getting here, or even me. I've been here for several years. There's still terms I come across. I'm not quite sure what that means. Well, it's something that comes in handy is Atlassian Intelligence, where you can highlight a certain term or acronym, and it will give you the definition of that based on a search that it's doing on the back end. And in the more recent version, it will actually do this little blue kind of rainbow underline to let you know that there's a definition available for a particular thing. So you can just click on it. Now we're here in Trello, but this actually works across our product suite. So there's an example in Trello, and here's an example in Jira Software where the same exact use case is being shown. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is something that we're excited about. Within Atlassian Analytics, we try very hard to make it as easy as possible to build charts and dashboards, but they can still be a fairly complex maneuver, even with things like a visual SQL, which we have in the product where you're dragging and dropping from tables and deciding what you want to do with the resultant query. Even though that's easier than hardcore SQL, we still want to make it even easier. One of the things that we're doing is we're using Atlassian Intelligence to do a natural language SQL build. So here you'll see somebody just typing in the thing that they want to build, and then Atlassian Intelligence will build the SQL statement based off of that. So as you might imagine, this could save lots of time. This is something that we're particularly excited about. It's rolling out now. So do go check it out. The next thing we'll talk about is scalable deployments. So as I mentioned earlier, from a scale perspective, we are always trying to scale everything, essentially. Our asset limits, of course, are support for agents. We have just gone GA with 20,000 agents. And as a reminder, that's agents. That doesn't mean that the system won't support more customers. We don't charge for customers, requesters, but the agents we have to track because they're the ones actively using the system. So they're the ones that actually put the most load on them. We have support for 20,000 agents. On the security and compliance front, we continue to expand our data residency, which I'll talk more about in just a second. We want to expand our HIPAA compliance into the virtual agent, and we want to improve migrations, as I mentioned earlier. So getting from server to cloud, we're trying to make that as easy as possible. And we're expanding that migration process to support both forms and assets. So 20,000 is rolling out now. The assets limit has 3 million. That's actually also rolling out now. I know it says coming soon, but it's actually rolling out now. So we're in support of that, at least in an EAP form at this point in time. And the data residency front, in addition to our support for the US, the EU, Australia, Germany, Singapore, and most recently Canada, we continue to expand to other regions. You'll see the next 3 coming soon there, as well as the 3 coming after that. So look for those in the early part of the next calendar year. We continue to expand support for regulations like HIPAA and BaFin, FINMA, and EBA, and with FedRAMP in the works. We are also adding CIM support for our portal-only accounts. We have custom help center domains, which is a big ask for a long time. That's launching now. I mentioned the hierarchical SLAs as well as improved queue groupings. So this will help with not just ease of use, but performance as well. And then lastly, we'll be introducing BYOK. We continue to improve the audit logs because we know those are always important. And then cloud to cloud migrations, because we know customers have, in some cases, multiple cloud sites, and they want to move things from one to the other. So as you can see, we continue to build a product that you can trust to really help take your service management practices to the next level and wall to wall in your organization. And that brings us to the end of the presentation. If you're watching this live, I'll hand it over back to the moderator, which might be me. And then if you're not watching it live, thank you for watching, and we hope to hear from you soon. Take care. All right. Thanks everyone for that. Thanks for the questions. We're rolling in as expected. I know I did promise to answer some live. I know some of the other folks were helping answer questions on that. So thank you for that. I want to start with the question around asset and config for workflows, and will it live in the assets module? It's not going to live in the assets module per se. When you build a workflow, of course, you have a request type on the front end, you have a workflow behind it, you have fields that kind of make up that request type. And what this is about is making it easier to fulfill or build those things with the data that's in assets. So making custom fields easier to build, making the workflows, more workflows available, more workflow templates, and then ultimately more request type templates that leverage that information in assets. So it won't live in assets per se. We'll be building a sort of template style out in the other places that we're populating with templates today. So there's a big focus on templates so that you can a la carte use the things that you want to need to build a particular process or practice. So that's the philosophy going into that at this point in time. One other comment I do want to make about someone had asked the question, like, do we have a CMDB? That's a question we get a lot. The way that we like to answer this question is you can use assets really for whatever you want to use it for. So can you use it as a CMDB? Yes, but you can use it for other things as well, even simultaneously. So as you learn about assets, it's a very flexible repository, and using it as a CMDB is just one way that you can use it. So it's really just flip that around in your mind. Like, we're very much interested in not forcing people to use repositories in a certain way. We want you to build it to the way that works for you. I think I got one question right at the end that didn't get answered. That was a question around implementation of 200 agents with 30 teams. Any recommendation of the number of admins to work on it? It is a tough question without coming in and taking a look at everything that you're doing. I'm sure the StrataCom folks would love to help you out with that. What I can tell you is typically it's not going to be as many as you might think. If, as I mentioned earlier, I've been around the block with our competitors and seen the number of admins that are required to maintain some of those competitive solutions. It's not going to be as many as you might think. Like, I would put it somewhere in 1 to 3 would be my guess. Just on the surface, that's very surfacey. I would really want to dig in. So I would say definitely work with your partner here at StrataCom, and I'm sure they can dig in a little deeper and figure out exactly what you need. It's also important to remember that we very much are working towards this model of delegated administration. So when it comes to things that have to be centrally managed versus you can push out to manage, when you want to build if you're familiar with our company managed projects, our team managed projects, that's that delineation between something that's centrally managed versus something that's, okay, this team over here can build what they need. They don't really need to leverage a central administrator. So you want to make sure you're leveraging those techniques within the system so that you don't have to have as many admins, and you don't have to have as much load on your central administrative team, is the way I would answer that. To my other moderator host, did I miss any other questions here?
I think we've covered them all. If there are any final questions, please enter them now. We'll keep the line open for another couple of minutes. Oh, one just popped in if you want to take a look.
Sure. Do we support any integration to enterprise architecture tools, LeanIX, business design? Yes, we do. LeanIX is one that comes up a fair amount. One thing I would look at, not knowing the exact reason why you want to integrate with it, it might be, not sure, there might be a conversation with Jira Align if you're looking to at a portfolio level. But if you're just looking to bring data in so that you can build architecture models or models that sort of relate to some type of service map or business capability and whatnot, certainly you could bring data in like to assets in that fashion as well. But depending on what your use case is, the answer is yes. It just might be a different yes, depending on what exactly you're trying to get done. Okay, will pro forma forms be enhanced to use asset data so that it can adapt the form? Yes. Yes, we do. Forms will support asset custom fields, I believe is the question you're asking.
Celebration comment. All right.
Yeah. Yes. Forms will. Lots of work to make sure that Forms, quite frankly, supports every field in the Atlassian platform. It's literally lots of work on that front to make sure it essentially behaves the same way as anything else in the system. Okay. There was one other question. I think the boards. Oh, I did the reporting improvements. Did I answer that question? Oh, yes. Yes. We're actively working on situations where you've got a dashboard, or if you've played around with the list of links where you can display assets like within a Confluence page, or basically these techniques for you, like you want to display data outside the system for, we'll say, a non-agent audience. We're acutely aware that people would like to do that. So that is something that we are actively working on as to, can we provide some type of guest access to see that data? As we have to have very tight permission controls within the system on who can see what. So we have to make sure that we build that the right way so that you don't have leakage, right? You don't have people seeing things they're not supposed to see. But we are aware of the need and we are actively working on it. So I want to make sure I touched on that one too. Okay.
I think a couple more trickled in as well.
Does it seem to be for service mesh impact modeling? Yes, you can build essentially whatever map you want, whatever relationship between two objects. We use the term objects here, but it's basically two things. Whatever relationship you want to build between the two things, you can. upstream or downstream. You can decide, which directionality you want between the two things. So that's all supported within the system. Definitely. Is there a limit on user-defined fields? In terms of, Donna, if your question, is there a limit to how many fields you can make? No, there's not. But I would caution you, as my StrataCom friends will probably tell you, don't go nuts. Don't make thousands of fields if you don't have to. Make sure there's sort of coordination happening. If somebody over there is using the same field in this request type as another request type, share fields, but there will come a point. This is an area that people do, it gets away from them sometimes, where they've just created so many things that they can't keep track of them anymore. They don't know who's using what. And there are some things that we can do to help with, we'll call like maintenance, keeping things green and maintenance, but there's not a limit there. You can make as many as you want, but like I said, we do caution that you don't go a little too crazy. Thinking of the custom forms. I'm sorry, Doug. I don't know if you can come off. I don't know if you're allowed to come off mute. Can you ask that question again? I'm not sure exactly what you mean by the custom forms.
I think I need to unmute Donna. Give me just a second. All right, Donna, your mic is allowed if you want to speak up.
Looks like maybe we're having some technical challenges. If you want to, feel free to type it out again. What I can say is when it comes to forms essentially have two types of fields at a high level. There's either what I'll loosely call Jira fields. So these are the custom fields that you've built within the platform, or there are form fields that aren't those. They're essentially read-only. They aren't taking up space in the database. And that's where those sort of techniques come in to keep your requests as streamlined as possible. There's not a limit on either one of those if you want to use or make those for use within a request or a form. Custom forms. Okay. Yes, certainly there's not a limit on the number of forms you can make either. What it sounds like you might be experiencing is maybe there's been some form where maybe things have gotten unwieldy. Definitely there's not a limit there, but certainly you do want to, again, exercise caution and try and reuse things. Forms are usually a little bit more specific to a particular request type. So it's not unusual to have more one-to-ones there, less sharing of forms. But where you can, of course, you do want to try and share forms across request types if you can. But again, there's not a limit there. A limit to in terms of fields. I mean, fields you can make, field putting into forms, etc. There's not a limit there. It's just a question of making sure that it's useful and performant for what you're trying to get done. So hopefully some of that answered your question. Okay. Did any other questions fly in or that I missed from earlier?
I don't. It looks like the question was answered. I don't see anything else. So I think that'll be a wrap for today. Oh, nope. I spoke too soon. We got one more that just rolled in.
The new promotion. Honest. Using are just certain object types. I am not sure I'm catching your question, Holly. Can we try to unmute Holly? Shall we?
Yeah, that's AJ. AJ, I think you are allowed for mic. If you're able to unmute yourself, you should be able to speak.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So we've heard rumors. I'm going to step out of the conference room. We've heard rumors of further development of being able to promote from our sandbox to our production environment. Right now you can do exports and imports, but we're looking for whether or not we need to explore a third-party solution for promotion, including pro forma forms and all aspects of kind of building bundles and deploying to prod all at once.
Yes. And I realize it's a moving target too, right? Because like we just acquired AirTrack. Are we going to have site-to-site migration ready for AirTrack immediately? No. It's one of those situations where we got this moving target. What I would say is there's a cloud-to-cloud site migration imminent that's supposed to take care, we'll say looking backwards, it's supposed to take care of most, if not all of the things that you need to move from one to another. Again, I would take the AirTrack out of the conversation because we just got here. So I would say give that a shot, or if you haven't learned about that, give that a shot and then see if it's working for you before you go look at something third party. Good to see you because that's more imminent. I would say give that a shot, see if it works for you. If it doesn't, definitely give that feedback to us so that we can see what's not working still. And then we'll get that back to product. And of course, we'll continue to make that better. We are 100% clear that we need exactly what you're looking for, is we need everything to move from here to there. And as I said, it's just one of those moving target things where, as the acquisitions have happened, it's just they've got to go back and build and go back and build and go back and build, right? That's the situation for why it's not always 100%. But that's what I recommend at this point. I think he's back on mute again. Okay. Any other questions?
I'm not seeing any, so I think we might be a wrap again, unless something pops up in the next 2 seconds here. Thanks again for joining us, everybody. I hope it was really helpful. We will be sharing the recording out, so if you want to rewatch or share with anyone on your team. I also got a lot of requests for, are we going to see a JSM demo? So we have a recorded GSM mode that we'd be more than happy to share with you. So when we send out the recording for today's session, I'll include a link to the demo recording as well. I think it's about an hour, 20 minutes. So it's a really good deep dive into all the areas of functionality within JSM. And then please do reach back out to StrataCom with any questions you might have after watching that recording. I'll pop up a slide here with my contact information. Feel free to reach out. We're also happy to talk with you one-on-one. So if you're interested in looking at partner pricing for implementation, for partner pricing on software, if you're interested in purchasing JSM, we'd love to help you with that. And we'd be happy to continue one-on-one conversations to show you personally a deep dive into JSM demo as well. So please let us know how we can help you in your journey in the year ahead. And thanks for presenting today, Ken. We appreciate your time and look forward to doing it again, maybe mid-year 2024.
All right, that sounds good. Thanks everyone for attending. Really appreciate it.
All right. Bye, everyone.